Welcome to the Building Texas Show, where we find the leaders behind the businesses and organizations driving progress in Texas. In each episode, we share the stories of innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders committed to evolving Texas into its next era. I'm your host, Justin McKenzie, your guide to help you think about how to engage in the movement and support building Texas across the entire state. Founded by German freethinkers determined to find freedom from dictatorial monarchies and clerics, Comfort, Texas remains an unincorporated census-designated area today. To that end, Comfort residents and businesses historically relied on community support and a spirit of the possible to be successful. To this day, Comfort is a place where people gather, they celebrate, and tap into the essence of the earliest settlers of the Texas Hill Country. Comfort is known in the region for its annual Christmas in Comfort celebration and is an ideal spot for tourists and weekend travelers wanting to experience the magic of the Texas Hill Country without the crowds. Welcome back to this episode of the Building Texas Show. We're sitting in Comfort, Texas, and I'm excited to be sharing a number of stories about Comfort. And when I think of Comfort, I think of the people that grow up here, the people that have grown up here and created the community that it is today in so many different ways, whether that was through their early childhood stages of being a part of it or leaving and coming back and creating something for others. We're joined by Alfredo Avalos with RA Nursery and Materials, and we're excited to have a full conversation around what does that look like to grow up, leave, and come back to Comfort, but more importantly, to invest in Comfort and to be a part of creating a future and creating some beautiful spaces. We talked about some of your work and some of the projects, and they're well known. We'll get to those. But it keeps it with the right material and the right aesthetic, and we're sitting in a beautiful place here at the Ingenhood. It takes material to make that beautiful. So, Alfredo, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story. How did you find yourself in Comfort?
Well, like you said, I moved here when I was 5, so I came in as a first grader and stayed through till I was I graduated from Comfort in 92. We got a scholarship for running cross country and track at Columbia University in New York City. And I moved to New York, 18. Actually, I was 18 when I got there.
What was that transition like?
No, it was easier, but harder than you can imagine. Easy because I wanted something new.
Yeah.
Hard because I missed the food. I missed my mom's tortillas. I missed the homemade chile and all that stuff. So it was definitely, that part was difficult, but everything else was exciting. I mean, big city, lots of good adventures. I mean, it was a good spot for me.
And growing up from first grade through graduating Comfort High School, did you get to travel a lot and see a lot of the world before going from Comfort to New York? I mean, that's two very different ends of, let's just call it a population spectrum. But had you traveled a lot before going to New York?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think my first trip in San Antonio, I was probably 13 or 14. So we stayed in the Hill Country. That's what we did. We didn't come from a whole lot of money, so we had a whole lot of family weekends together.
Yeah.
And just spent a lot of time with family.
And you went to Columbia University on a cross-country scholarship.
Correct.
And I'm always intrigued by that because that shows such initiative in a high schooler to go out and participate in a very hard sport that is cross country. If you're thinking about if you're in high school and you're thinking about a good lifetime sport, cross country is a great one. I highly recommend. How did you find Columbia? How did they find you? I mean, who put you on that path?
So it's a funny story. my freshman year, I had decided that I was going to go to college because I wanted to go, and I figured that was my path for a better life, because the way we grew up wasn't very, lack of resources, and shared a whole lot of resources, let's just say. And academically, I did well in school. I always studied hard. I did a lot of activities, lots of sports. And the benefit to doing that is you kind of get on the radar of your school guidance counselor.
Oh, yeah.
Miss Ann Harris, she's the one that actually recommended the coach talk to me. The coach had called on a different student,
Yeah.
asking about his academic record, and she said, he probably wouldn't be successful there, but you need to talk to this other student. He could probably make it there. And Coach Jim Grogan reached out when I had never heard of Columbia. I thought it was a country.
Yeah.
Looked it up, couldn't find anything about it. It was before internet type stuff.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was already in the fall of my senior year.
Okay.
And I had received a scholarship to go to Texas A&M on a civil engineering scholarship. So I was going to be a civil engineer, build bridges. I was going to stay in Texas. I had my life kind of planned. And then he came out. I was like, hey, why don't you just apply, see if you can get in. If you can get in, then we can make, that's a different conversation. I went ahead and applied, got in. And then my decision became, should I go to New York, or have to pay out of my pocket some money, or go to A&M where I get basically everything paid for. And I remember talking to a couple of my friends who were adults at the time. My parents aren't educated, so I couldn't really lean on them very much on choices on all that. So I talked to quite a few guys and came to the decision that I can always come back to Texas.
Yeah.
But I can't always go to New York. And so I went and made a decision to accept the offer from Columbia. Went up to visit after accepting in July. And I'm like, I hope I did the right thing, because I'm in it now.
That's a big commitment to say, I'm going to go to New York, having never been there, and coming from a very small, even in that early 90s.
Yeah, 2,000 people in it. Yeah.
Wow. And your guidance counselor, Ann Harris, what a testament. And I've heard a couple of stories out of Comfort High School where in early their senior year, a teacher or a guidance counselor, in your story, really do set the path for people's lives in innocent and unassuming ways. But what an opportunity she gave you just by saying, consider this person. And is she still with us?
Yeah, she retired, and we kept in touch. I haven't talked to her in years, but she moved to Bernie.
Okay.
And so I would come home and we'd visit and everything, but we kind of drifted apart the last few years. So.
Well, Nicole, I made a plug for cross country and doing the extracurricular sports, but it's also a good reminder that this is why you want to be friends with your teachers and the adults in your school.
That's right.
Because they are looking out for you. They are looking for those opportunities, particularly when they know you, they know your academic rigor, they know you're doing extracurriculars, but most importantly, they know that you have a vision and a plan and a direction that you want to pursue. And I've seen so many educators really lean into that and create opportunity for students like you were at that point. So, wonderful story. What brought you back to Comfort? Comfort to New York, I can understand. New York back to Comfort. I mean, graduating Columbia, you have the world. You go do a lot of things. You did not go into civil engineering, or did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. So what brings you back to Comfort, 6, 7 years later from when you left?
Yes. So, graduated in 96, Columbia, and with an industrial engineering degree.
Yeah.
Lots of math, lots of science, lots of numbers. So I always liked my numbers. And I ended up working down on a small day trading firm called Daytech Securities. 96 we started. Market was kind of sideways, so I actually traded equities for the next 6 years. That's what I did. Bought and sold stocks, mostly technology stocks. And I first couple years didn't do that well, but then I started to do well, and I did really well. I caught the internet first bubble, and made some money on.
So pre-2000 internet, you're catching that ride.
Correct.
That's awesome.
So I ended up. I knew in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to last. So I was taking money out of the market, and I was looking for active investments. I was living in Hoboken, New Jersey at the time,
Okay.
and I wanted to buy the apartment building I was in, but my landlord didn't want to sell it. And the more I got to thinking about it, I was kind of missing Texas already. So then I started to look down in this area because I knew Texas was still going to grow. Texas, the demographics behind it are just amazing. And Comfort, of all places, I knew. And I looked at San Antonio, I looked at South Texas, West Texas, North Texas, and I just always kept coming back to the hill country. Nothing beats the rivers, the hills, the greenery. And so I ended up buying a couple of rent houses to begin with. And the broker that I was working with at the time, she said, you need to look at this property that I have on Cypress Creek Road.
Yeah.
And it was a much larger acreage than I was looking for at the time. And there was no way I could pull it off on my own. So I liked it. I really thought it was a good investment. I put together a business plan, pro forma, did everything I did. I met a couple bankers. The one banker really liked me. Again, kind of like that connection you're saying.
Yep.
She believed in what I was presenting, and she pitched it to her board, and they loaned me the money.
That's fantastic. Local bank?
It was Bank of America out of San Antonio.
Okay.
But I was working with a local banker. She was from Center Point. Actually, she was married to a gentleman from Center Point and knew the community, knew the area. So she understood what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And then not even a couple years, the following year, I kept trading. So I was buying property as I was still trading. And the following year is when I bought the property that we're currently on for RE Materials. So it's 140 acres on the river, and it was a mile outside of Comfort. I said, looking for a large tract close, but not in town. And that was the largest tract I could find that made sense. And so I actually bought it because of the big cypress trees.
I love the big cypress trees. It's hard to beat that view here in Comfort.
Oh man, it's amazing.
In 140 acres, and that is the nursery.
Yes.
And people can go there today. People watching this could come and find RA Nursery in Comfort and walk through and see what you've created and how you're putting that back into the community.
Yes. So we kind of started as a full service nursery. We had blooming plants, hanging baskets, geraniums. I actually worked in a wholesale nursery when I was in high school.
Okay.
And so I like to garden.
Yeah.
But as you guys know, water is an issue here. So as we got into landscaping, more of my customers were choosing between saving their well or planting plants that required a whole lot of water.
Yeah.
So we made a transition from those kind of plants into just purely desertscape plants. We have yuccas, agaves, barrel cactus, anything and everything you can think of. We have a huge selection of cacti and succulents out there.
That's fantastic. And water is such a sensitive conversation, but then it's finding the balance between the beauty of what you want to create in your place or water. Yep. And the xeriscape, desert, hill country native type plants really do make a difference. I see so many of these people moving into our hill country area and trying to bring stuff that's just not going to be successful.
Yeah.
My parents, they moved here from South Georgia in the late 70s and 80s, and they wanted to plant pine trees. And I remember in Del Rio, Texas, planting pine trees from South Georgia. And we thought it was going to be a good idea, but I don't think they ever rooted. Can't imagine why.
Can't imagine why.
I love the story of what brings you back. And it's even more so if you were working at a nursery in high school, you already had that experience and you came back and you've really made it your own and created a beautiful business that supports residential needs and commercial needs as they're building and landscaping in the hill country. But you've also gotten into some residential housing that isn't always, well, I just think when I think of comfort living in that project today, what is comfort living? And then how did you transition? What brought you into that space?
Well, I started the materials business to actually supply some of my rent houses that I was buying at the time. So we were buying lots of sand and gravel and different types of stone to basically landscape the houses that we owned. And one of the properties it was middle of town. And so we've also, I guess as a side hustle, you want to call it, we do develop as well.
Okay.
So we buy tracts of land and.
Sounds like you're a vertical integrator and you brought all this together.
Yeah. And so one of the pieces of property that we were actually exploring was a larger tract out in Kerr County. And one of the issues we ran into was the lack of water to put in this development. Kent and I were already working together. We had a nice plan together. He came to me talking to me about a project that catered towards independent living. It's not assisted living, and definitely not. It's a graduated living for seniors that you start with us, and then when they can't be mobile anymore, they go to a different facility.
Yep.
But
it's not a caretaking facility.
Correct. No.
It's just a community of like age, like life circumstances.
Right. And that's what we're trying to build, our community where people want to just kind of hang out with each other.
Yeah.
Within a setting that they're going to enjoy each other's company. Their kids live elsewhere, so as people age, they become more and more lonely. So being around other people their age that share similar interests was really struck home with me, because I have aging parents. My wife has aging parents and grandparents that you've noticed what happened to them over the years. So we wanted to put together something like that. And Kent actually he spearheaded all that, because he brought to me the study and we looked at it. And one of the thoughts I had was, that property out in Kerr County won't work, but maybe we can talk to the guys here in town. And so we started to explore some options and came together where we were able to put 8 independent units. They're separate. So
like 8 homes.
Correct.
And walking through it, they're all 1 story.
Yep.
They're all nice, but they're not excessive.
Correct.
And they're all within walking distance. And I say walking distance, like here to the end of the pond, from a community center.
Correct.
That is really built to create that connection.
That's right.
So it's 65 and up, and it's in a small town where we do have people aging in this community, but aging on this side of town and that side of town, they're never going to get together because it's mobility issues, et cetera. So my understanding that you're really trying to bring that all to one acre little spot and create this community almost of people living not together, but so close that it feels like they're supported.
That's right. That is the idea.
And Comfort Living is the name of it. You're opening this month.
Yes.
And what should people in Comfort expect to see there?
So the community center will be available for small meetings, available to the public.
Okay.
On a per case basis, but it is geared towards the people living in our facility there.
And how many people would live in that facility? How many individual homes are there?
So we got 5, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and
okay.
2 bedroom, 1 bath.
Okay.
So anywhere from, I don't know. I mean, most people, if you have a couple in each, 16 people, 14 people.
And so I appreciate that we've jumped from the nursery to looking at development, but this is a unique way to develop property. And we've talked about water a little bit being a restraint in our area. And there are some density rules in our county, in Kendall County at least, around what can you build. But you're finding a way around it, and it's not around it. You're working within the letter of the regulation. But
oh yeah, we didn't go around it at all.
Yeah, that's the wrong language. I think what I would say, and we'll edit it more appropriately, is you've worked with what our county allows us to do. And all of that development ruling is typically led by the need for water. And that's the gate to doing a lot in the hill country. How do you overcome that? Because you're on the line of density, which is what we talk about a lot in development. But there's so much good in connection. So I struggle balancing. I like the idea of dense development, but open land or park around it, kind of keeping the heritage, but bringing people together. The alternative to that in our community, it's 10 acres to make a well. So you have to make a big investment to have enough property to have a well to build a house. So now I come into a community like yours. You're in Comfort proper, so you have water services. You don't have a lot of the rural concern. Rural living can be different. You might have to drag your trash can half a mile to the gate. You might have no one around you for a mile. It can be very lonely as you age. And so I love the idea of Comfort Living bringing that community together and showing that these small towns, maybe that's an opportunity for developers to think differently about how to use an acre or 3 acres and turn it into something that provides so much value to those aging in our communities.
Yeah. So you answered you asked about how we talked to the county.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, the lesson we learned for Kirk County is to go to the water people first.
Yep.
And since Comfort has its own utility district, they have their own sewer and water.
Yep.
And speaking to the manager at the water district, he said, here's what we can allow. And so long as you do xeriscaping, which brought up my
You're an expert.
Exactly. We basically did all the buildings were with low flow devices, so our usage on the water is going to be don't know exact number, but probably about a quarter what you normally would use on a normal house, because we also have only one or two people living in there.
Yeah.
So it's based on bathrooms and bedrooms. So looking at what we put there, it's the equivalent of a big house somewhere in the country. We actually are going to use a lot less water than that. And then once we got permission from them about what we could do, then we went to the county and said, okay, here's what we're planning. And we abided by their setback rules, their detention pond requirements, and everything got engineered, everything got put in exactly how it needed to be put in. So it came out a really nice development. We went to the county commissioners for all the proper permits and blessings, and so it came together nice. It took us about 2 years to do it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how long does that process take? And this is in Kendall County.
Correct.
And WCID here for Comfort, there is a water district here. And if you are in the development space, there's a big difference between a municipal water and water districts out in the county.
Correct.
But it sounds like you've navigated that. And I'd encourage for other people trying to do this type of development, it is a long process.
It is. It's a long and expensive process.
Yeah.
But
so if you're an investor in somebody doing this, recognize it's a long and expensive process.
Right.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, we really believed in this product, and we thought it'd be a really great addition to the community. For that reason you said, we want to bring people together. We want to create a space where they feel safe and be part of something that's going to be around for a long time. I mean, the buildings we built are built really well, so they're going to be there for a long time.
Beautiful facilities, and you're opening in November. We want to encourage everybody to go out and look at it. But my question to you is, are you going to do it again? Do you like that model of development and that project? Would you recommend this type of development for somebody maybe in Mason, Texas, or in Harper, where they have land and they have people, but those people are out there by themselves, and I really do think there's power in bringing them together. And it doesn't always have to look like an apartment complex.
No, and we stayed away from the apartment complex model, because we talked about maybe a single story or a big building with elevators. Then it just looks institutionalized.
Yeah.
We wanted to look more like a cottage. We wanted to look like a hill country type setting.
More like comfort.
More like comfort. And the architect that we worked with did a really good job with the spacing, the way he laid out the layout, where you have a big space, but even though it's small, it feels big. But answer your question, I think there is opportunity in all these small towns for these kind of projects, but it's going to depend on each county.
Yeah. And then who is the drumbeat? And I appreciate your partner on this, Kent, is a drumbeat on his own. And it sounds like you are too. And I want to call back to your story. You grew up here, graduated, left, came back. What's your message to the kids graduating Comfort High School today? What is their opportunity locally or abroad? And what should they be looking for?
The economy is changing. I mean, I think we talked a little bit before we started about
Yeah.
how people are looking for ways to make a living, stay in the small town, make a living. And with the advent of work from home, that was unheard of when I was, looking for a job. I was going to be in the office, and I was going to show up early, leave late, and that's what I did. I mean, I was first guy in, last guy out. It's going to take lots of hard work, regardless of what you do. I mean, I think a lot of people think that there's just an easy way to make money, but the opportunities are there if you're willing to I guess, put in the work, put in the effort.
You got to roll up your sleeve. Yeah. You have to find people like Ann Harris that believe in you, or Kent Dimsley that believe in you, and come alongside, because it is entrepreneurship, which is what I would classify you as doing, is a lonely sport. And it takes more than one typically to do it. When we're talking about that, your encouragement is look around and see how the world shifted. Remote work's an interesting opportunity for comfort. You have fiber to the home out here, thanks to the local co-op. And prior to 2015, I don't know that there was internet out here. And if there was, it was still DSL and really slow. But fiber coming in opens up so many opportunities for this community and the broader economy. How's that changed your business?
We, for a materials company, we're actually we invest a lot in technology. So we do a lot of things online. We get in front of a lot of people that we wouldn't be able to back when we first started. Yellow pages, knocking on doors, flyers, newspaper, all that. So just changing how we get in front of people is definitely continuing to change. I mean, we're in the middle of another project that we partner with another company that he does business consulting, and he puts together retreats. And another piece of my property, we pulled out some acres and the old ranch house, and we're doing that out there now. So it's more of a corporate retreat, but that wouldn't be available without high-speed internet.
Yeah.
I mean, you can stream before it was DSL or even dial-up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Usenet, satellite.
Usenet. So you had a little storm or something, it threw everything off. But to answer your question about fiber here in town, when I first moved back in '99, I was still trading, and I needed high-speed internet. And so the only way I get high-speed internet was running a trunk line to a T1 line. I don't know if you remember what those were. From another gentleman that had it, we came off his place, he trenched out to my place, and I think I was paying $1,500 a month. Now, and I was only getting, I don't know, I forget the speed. Nothing. Now you can get in town 2 gigabits through Bender Electric for $250. I mean, it's crazy what you can do. I mean, that's a big amount of data you can bring in and out, and you can work, I mean, anywhere in the world, actually.
Well, and that's what I love about small town futures is you can do remote work. You could have remote work facilities and allow people at all ages and stages to find those opportunities now that it's accessible here in the Hill Country. And what a gift. And we see this across the country with the co-ops. That is your members. I'm assuming you're a member of that co-op, investing in that future and investing in an infrastructure that really has opened up a whole new economy for these small rural towns in Texas to go be successful and to change their dynamics. And I appreciate that your story really does start with the internet and the ability for you to come back to comfort. And while it was expensive and probably hard to navigate, you had a way to use technology to continue trading and continue that opportunity. And what it's allowed you to do here and stay here and reinvest in your hometown is quite a testament.
Yeah, it definitely opened up a whole lot of, I guess, flexibility for me.
Yeah.
When I first moved back, I had to go back to New York and sit on a trading floor to be able to trade. And then as I found different ways to be able to pipe in data, then I was like, I don't need to go back. I can just do it from here.
And now we have the Dallas trading floor opening. And I think that's going to open up more opportunity for Texas kids, Texas traders, I think global, to look at Texas in a whole different light. And I hope people like you will continue to lead these communities and show them that entrepreneurial investment and that entrepreneurial hard work really does create a lot of opportunities for those around you as well. As we wrap up our conversation today, I so appreciate the way that you're building Texas. And that is from the nursery and water saving direction for our residents and businesses to creating connection for people 65 and up at Comfort Living and creating a new way for Comfort to look at how can we create those collisions of people that allow people to age with more vigor, to age with more connection and more friends and people right there around them, not way out by themselves, lonely. So thank you so much for joining us today, for being willing to share your story and for creating what you've created here around you and your family and everyone involved in Comfort, Texas.
I appreciate being here. I know that when we first started, I was a little hesitant because, I didn't know what to expect. And I think you're doing a great job and really showcasing people that are here and other people can benefit from our stories, and definitely have people come out to the Hill Country and say, it's all right, you can be here. Everybody's welcome.
I can assure you are inspiring others around you, and most importantly, inspiring those high school kids that are saying, well, I could go from Comfort High School to Columbia University. And I hope that they know that and are reminded of that. And then the Ann Harris that's there today, go find her. Whatever school you're in, find your guidance counselors freshman year and make yourself visible, because they'll open up doors that would not have otherwise opened. And that's exciting. I want to encourage Comfort High School in particular that you're an example of that success. So thank you for showing up and being that face in so many ways. Thank you to all of our sponsors who have helped feature Comfort, Texas on the Building Texas Show. Please visit comfort.buildingtexasshow.com to learn more about these sponsors, Comfort, Texas, and to plan your next road trip into the Texas Hill Country. To learn more, visit our website, buildingtexasshow.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook at Building Texas.